All right. Thank you, Rebecca, for joining me today. I really appreciate you giving me your time. And it's been a while since we've connected. So I think this is a perfect opportunity for us to reconnect. And you're coming up on your 1 year anniversary in 3 weeks. And I'm excited to just ask you some questions and get a sense of how it's been and things that maybe you've learned. I'm going to ask you a bunch of questions if you don't mind, and you can take your time. You need to think about the question after I ask, and feel free to just answer as you wish. And so let me go ahead and start with, oh, well, first, let me go ahead and introduce you. And then this is Rebecca Duran, and she is the current executive director of Breakthrough Silicon Valley. We had a wonderful opportunity to work with the board last year in finding their new executive director. They had someone who had been in the role for a long time. And so there was a transition. And so we had the pleasure of interviewing lots of great candidates, and the board decided we landed on the best candidate, which was Rebecca. So, and she's like, again, she's been in the position for about a year now. So, my first question to you is, when you think back to your first 30 to 60 days in the role, what stands out most to you now?
So the thing that I would say is the first takeaway is I knew there would be a learning curve. Like as you come into any new role, there's always going to be some time where you're getting up to speed. But there was a lot coming at me right out of the gate. So it definitely was like the volume and speed of that learning curve was more than I had experienced in other roles. So there's a lot to take in, a lot of people to meet. A very exciting time because it was the right when I started in May, we're right just on the cusp of the summer program taking off. So it ended up being really great timing, but it was a lot of people all at once. So getting a handle on who's who and who's doing what and understanding how all these roles are interconnected and what my part is in that was a big part of the early days.
Great. Thank you. So, my next question is, how have you worked to maintain or evolve Breakthrough Silicon Valley's culture and spirit?
There's certainly elements of the program that are really familiar to me and also kind of near and dear to my heart from my own experience when I was a student and a teaching fellow in the program. So I recognized those right out of the gate. Even during the interview process, I picked up on what I can only describe as a feeling of being in that environment and within the breakthrough community. And so I definitely felt that that was one of the things that, it's a charge to maintain that and to leader amongst that culture part. And so some examples of that would be Breakthrough is built on a joy of learning and even like a competitive spirit, like a supportive competitive spirit. And so bringing that into our staff retreat right at the beginning of the program year, bringing that into a board staff social, having that be part of some of our group interactions, things that involve music and competition and Jeopardy games, and just places where it's really important to bring the fun and sort of like these camaraderie building opportunities because we are a youth serving organization and that element of fun. This is a really important part of how we get to know each other.
That's great. That does sound like a lot of fun for the youth and hopefully
Mhm.
the staff too.
Yeah, absolutely. It
Uh,
permeates kind of all levels of the organization, you might say.
yeah, that's wonderful. All right. So my next question is, what's an accomplishment from your first year that you're especially proud of?
I would say that, going into the role, we knew that there was going to be a vacancy in one of the leadership positions with the director of development. And that was certainly a big challenge in the first 6 months, but we got to kind of attacking that challenge as quickly as possible, even within the first 30 days, assessing what we were looking for and beginning to post and advertise for that role. And we did a great deal of interviewing and screening. And I would say it's a point of just a really positive note that in October, we did hire a new director of development who started in November.
Oh,
So
wonderful.
now at this point, as we're approaching the year, we've been working together for several months, and I'm so pleased to say that it's just been a really great hire and a really great fit, a great partner to myself and to a great asset to the organization to have someone who's incredibly committed to the mission, has great skills and development, which is a hard thing to find within one's budget. So
Yes.
being able to get those elements together, that definitely, and it's not a one person job. It was our ops team and our board weighing in and just helping to get us to the great candidate that we brought on board.
That's great to hear. I know those development positions can be hard to fill sometimes, so that's really, really amazing.
Across organizations, sometimes they're harder to fill than ED roles.
Yes.
So, it's not
Yes,
unusual.
we
So
know that.
yeah, and we really thought it could take us up to a year. So I think that's
Yeah.
also part of the thrill about that accomplishment is that we were prepared for it to take potentially longer.
Yeah.
We were glad that it was done by November.
That's fabulous. All right. My next question is around fundraising. Speaking of fundraising, financial sustainability, those were key priorities. And you already answered one of the questions around how you approached those in the first year. That is actually the question. How did you approach those in your first year? Fundraising and financial sustainability. And you obviously answered the question around hiring for a new development person. But yeah, what about the financial sustainability part?
Well, a couple of things come to mind here. One is that certainly filling that role was a big step in that direction. But also, right out of the gate, we had a focus on our big annual fundraiser, which takes place every October. So the entire summer, there was a huge emphasis for me on getting to know our donors. And there are a lot of them and one of me. So it's certainly a process to try and set up as many one-on-one um, meetups, virtual meetups, coffee meetups, conversations. Before the prior ED exited, we did a warm handoff of as many major donors as possible, but needing to follow up on those and find time to have some FaceTime together. That was a big part of the transition and a big part of getting ready for our annual fundraiser. And especially in light of the time that we did not have someone in the post of director of development, it was really central part of focusing on fundraising for me. Another aspect that is a little bit separate from those two that we've mentioned is that we had a goal within the board to grow our board. So to really make an intentional effort to bring on a large cohort. So this board brings on board members once a year as a group. And we had aimed to bring on between 5 and 7 members, which is a
Mm,
large
that
class, a significant turnover due to the attrition from recent years and then the attrition we were expecting this year from those who'd be fulfilling their term limit. So I'm really glad to say that with a lot of support and focus, I mean, we interviewed and had conversations with more than 20 individuals who might be candidates for the role. And we are going to be onboarding at our board meeting next month 6 new board members.
oh wow.
So that's an
Wow.
important part of the fundraising and sustainability strategy because our board members are such a key part of making that annual fundraiser a success and
Yeah.
helping us connect to other people in the community who can be supporters to the organization. So that's one of those sort of pillar pieces to help bring the whole package together.
Yeah. Well, congratulations on that. That's really exciting to hear. And I think, yeah, you definitely are on the right path to success in terms of building on the muscle that's already existed. So that's really wonderful. All right. I like my last question here. And this is something fun because it's always forward thinking. So, what are you most excited about in the year ahead? And I know you already kind of alluded to it, bringing on the new board members, but yeah, what else are you really excited about?
So, one of the needs we had looking at last year was that we had a strategic plan that was expiring. And it was determined that, like, in my first 6 months in the role, that really isn't something that should be tackled because though the timing was there, there was so much else to learn and so much else going on.
Yeah.
But in the second 6 months, so in the more recent few months, we have begun to deal with that challenge. So we formed a board committee that is a strategic planning working group. And we've since then hired a facilitator and set up a budget. And we are deep into the strategic planning process at this point, and it will be a plan that will be completed in about the next 6 weeks, so by June. So this is an exciting milestone because it's
Yeah.
a necessary part of kind of planning the big broad strokes of the direction for the organization. It's most likely going to be at least a 3-year plan, so really taking us forward into the future. And we're getting input from just scores of people, students, teaching fellows, board members, staff members, funders, partners, parents. And I'm excited at that element because there's a lot of deep listening involved, a lot of learning for me about the organization on this strategic level. And we bring all that information together to decide what are the 2 or 3 or 4 key goals that will guide us as we decide what we keep doing well, where we need to evolve, what are the implications for how we do our work going forward. So that means that as we get into the fall, we'll have the new strategic plan in place. This will impact our program year and operations, our goals all across the organization. It's a lot, it's many months in the making, probably from when the committee started to when the plan is sort of signed on, when the board adopts the plan in September. It really would have been like 9 or 10 months altogether, but it's been step by step. So
Yeah, that's wonderful.
looking forward to unwrapping that and having
Yeah,
that be a big part of how we move forward.
that's great. Well, that wraps up all my questions. I'm just so glad that we've had a chance to reconnect. And like I said, again, congratulations on hitting your soon to be 1-year anniversary milestone. And I look forward to hearing more about what you accomplish in the next year.
Thank you so much. It has been such a pleasure to work with you and the entire team to come into this process, and I'm looking forward to staying in touch for sure.
Wonderful. Thank you.